We're cheaper.
Right, I will continue despite the heck. I'm a politician, I'll tell you that. Right. We have looked at Sheerness, but Sheerness could not accommodate all the operations. And also the Ro-Ro operation up there, well, the Olair line went out of business. So it all needs sorting out, whereas down here, the facilities available are excellent. Therefore, from a commercial point of view, that is why we're looking at Ramsgate for our proposal.
Next question!
Hello?
They're cheaper than the Isle of Grain.
I'm just trying to
Bloody sad.
work out exactly. I think see two things here. Let's put it in perfect, sorry. I mean, I think everybody can tell from the passion in the room, we've got a hall full of people who really care about this town and want to see some vision, some innovation, some creativity really in developing this as a place that clearly has a future in terms of tourism and leisure. And that's, I think, you know, what's coming over here. And there's a degree of fear and mistrust that's being expressed, and I certainly feel this as well. And I thank Ramsgate Town Council for giving us all the opportunity here, because clearly when the first presentation was made, there were only 2 residents, so it's really good that we have got this opportunity. What I'm concerned about, and I think that probably a lot of people are concerned about here, and there is a question at the end of this, is that have we seen the presentation that was put to Ramsgate Town Council this evening?
Yeah.
Because I can't understand how anybody could make any kind of decision on the basis of such a slight presentation. And we know that lots of the questions that people are asking you here are simply not being asked. We've got nothing comparable to base any information on. You know, I would want to know about other existing sites of this sort of operation elsewhere in the UK or anywhere else. All sorts of information. The only figures, the only things that I saw up there were jobs, which seem to be very precise. We've got 22, but there's nothing else that's precise. I mean, where were those figures plucked from? So that seems to me to be something, because obviously everybody in the area wants jobs. So they're thrown into the mix as a bit of a sweetener, along dangling with some promise of getting back our ferry service. But nothing seems evidence-based, nothing to support it. So why go to Ramsgate Town Council or anyone else with such a slight presentation? So for one, if I was to make any decision about anything, my gut feeling is I absolutely wouldn't touch this with a barge pole. But giving you the benefit of the doubt, why come to Ramsgate Town Council, who represent us, why go to TDC, and why stand up in front of us tonight when you can't answer those questions and you have nothing of any weight to show us to answer any of our concerns? So I feel completely in the dark as I walked in that door, completely in the dark, but everything about what you've done this evening is screaming at me, I'm sorry, I don't want it.
Good evening. The red light should be on if the mic's on. The top switch. Well, okay. Now, you answer the question while the chat sorts the mic.
Just while the mic's being sorted out. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's chicken and egg. We wanted to talk to people when the germinal idea was there before we developed it, because we wanted to get a reaction like this. And on the basis of that, we can decide, whether the company can decide if they want to work it out. If they do, there's no reason why they can't refer the consultation. I think that, you know, one thing you've got to note is that this consultation has taken place very early. It's not a case of trying to sneak something through. It's trying to start to get reaction at an early stage. There is an idea of types of pump equipment, but at the minute it would be inappropriate to show you that because we want to get your general reaction first. So we can't get it wrong. That's what we're doing.
Yes.
Good evening panel. Good evening, fellow residents. My name is Ross Bissett. I'm probably about the least qualified person to talk tonight, so I've just lived in Ramsgate for just over a month. My wife and I have spent the last 5 years looking along the coast everywhere from Polperro in Cornwall to Plymouth, to Portsmouth, to Brighton, all along that coast, and we've decided that the best place to come and live for the rest of our days is Ramsgate. We want to put an industrial unit right in the middle of the Royal Harbour of Ramsgate. You've got to be joking. You've been strong enough to come here and defend what you're trying to do, and we're going to go back on this. And all I want to know, and I'll ask you just a simple question, and I just want a yes or a no answer. Will this increase the pollution in the air and the water, or will it decrease it? It won't increase it.
It will decrease.
Yeah, it's very rude.
That's my question. I'd like to get a good answer as well.
Thank you. I think to a certain extent you might argue that by dredging the harbour, that the pollution will be decreased because, and I use the word pollution in inverted commas, because at the moment the dredgings from the harbour are taken out and dumped out at sea in 3 locations. Pegwell Bay is one of them. There's another site down in Dover. At Pegwell Bay, there are licences in existence for dumping sand in one place, chalk in another, and I forgot what the third item is. I think it's general aggregates in another place, but it goes all the way around to Dover. So I think there is a certain extent where we are helping the pollution situation because vessels will not have to travel those distances with those items on board. The dredger will merely bring it into the harbour on a conveyor system.
Hi, my name's Aaron. I'm kind of wondering, I'm not sure if your vision for what you want Ramsgate and Margate and Thanet to be, I do not think that aligns with people at all. And it hasn't for years. I've grown up through we lost Pleasure Armour, went to Pleasure Armour as a kid, we lost it, we lost Dreamland, we're losing the harbour, we're losing the port, and you're building an industrial estate on there. You're turning us into Sheffield, that's what's happening. My question is, you are out here getting a feel for the mood of the people, so hopefully your decision will agree with the people's, which I know. But what is your feeling? Do you think we are agreeing with your industrial estate, or do you think we are against it? Simple question, simple answer.
I'll give you a simple answer. I don't understand, and perhaps because we can't give you any more vision at the moment, why you think this is industrialisation. Please. Have your Royal Harbour Marine on one side. Come back to it, this is the port. Now, on the port, we are not putting any buildings, we are using an existing building that is doing nothing at the moment, and we're not putting any buildings up to make blocks. Blocks will go outside.
The Rochester. No, please.
Would you live in 500 metres?
Yes, I would. I don't know whether it's 500 metres, by the way. I question that because I think what you all thought was that the development was actually taking place near the road, and it isn't. It's way
Chap at the back there, next question, please.
Excuse me, but having worked in the waste industry, sorry, I can't hear you, sorry. Having worked in the waste industry and dealt with the Environment Agency when it first started, it is now a government entity. And to be honest, they're a complete waste of time. They wouldn't bring it in. If it's going to court when it's been shipped up, why has it been shipped straight there to the factory at court? Yeah. Also, are you aware of what could be in the wood? got a list here if you want, but basically there's an arsenic.
Read it.
There's an arsenic base in them.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Right, okay, in the wood, you can have creosote which is now about something. You've got arsenic.
Put the mic on.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. There are arsenates, phenols, whatever you like, creosote, all found substances. You're not telling me that the old wood that comes down here, and believe you me, I've tested stuff from everything from Harwell, all around the place. There's all sorts in there. You don't know that any lorry load that comes in hasn't got something in it. And if I might make a point, the Master Mariner might help me on this. I believe that anything that may be toxic coming in by ship has to go to Felixstowe and no other dock.
In relation to the wood, I think you have missed the point that I said it was already consolidated up in London and sorted out at licensed premises by professional companies.
Sorry, I
Start
get
with.
that. Doesn't work. Doesn't work.
Well, that's the operation, sorry.
Yeah, just a brief question. I'm Josh Coombs, I'm the chairman of the Green Party. Hello everyone, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you to Ramsgate Town Council for organising this meeting. I'm sure everyone's very grateful for that. One of the things I want to ask is when did the former, the person that was in charge of the head of planning, when did he become part of the Overy Riding Group? When did that happen? That's the first thing. And I'm sure you haven't done your homework, we can all see that, but I can tell you the people at Ramsgate have done their homework and will continue to do so.
Right there.
Would you like the answer to that question first, though, please?
I'm not a member of the O'Regan Group. I was asked to act as their consultant, I think it was about November. Don't know what, sorry. Sorry. You asked when I became part of the O'Regan Group. Sorry, I misheard your question.
Yeah. Brian White. He's part of the O'Regan.
You're asking about Brian White? Well, Brian was not planning. Sorry, that was my misunderstanding. I have asked Brian White if he would help me, because he is a qualified environmental health officer. I asked him if he could help me in December. That was when he became involved.
Okay, hi guys. Yeah, thanks very much for holding the meeting. It gives us all a voice. No one could turn around and say weren't consulted about it. A couple of little things. This young lassie down here is probably, 10 years old? Yeah? She's worried about carcinogens. You go to Wickes, you buy a bag of cement, it warns you on the side. It's a carcinogen. You wouldn't have an asbestos factory. That is classed as a commercial. Commercial to me is ferries, boats, shops, not industrial. When you're making something, that's an industrial unit. You're making blocks, you're industry. It's industrial, it's not an industrial unit, it's possibly a commercial site. It can be done for far less cancerous, dangerous things than making concrete blocks or possibly polluting or not. The third thing I'd like to say, we still have not had a direct question. Yes, you recycle. You recycle the water in tanks, gets recycled. There's only so many times you can still wash the same old stuff.
Exactly.
Pardon my P's and Q's. You then have to get rid of that eventual intoxicated liquid that's like fracking and everything else in this country. How are you going to take it away and where are you going to put it? Please answer the question about the water. Thank you.
Can I answer, please, on where you're going to put the wastewater?
Well, just said.
I'm not deaf, okay? Well, I'm trying to answer it if you just calm down, please, okay?
Good evening, everybody. My name's Gary Easton. I was born in Ramsgate nearly 60 years ago, so I feel reasonably qualified to speak. This is obviously not what Ramsgate needs. Obviously, I saw probably the great days of Ramsgate, and I think maybe the corner's turned and they're starting to come back again. What a lot of people have said, who would want to put a yacht in this harbour with this industrial site 200 yards away? Obviously we need jobs, but this is not the type of job that we need. Now the only other thing I will say is, I've been very vocal trying to say Manston Airport. And God forbid, if Manston Airport closes, just think on, and that becomes an industrial estate, do you think Mrs. Globe will be turning these sort of people away? I don't think so. Think on.
Hold on, please. Any one of the applicants would like to answer the question, a very thorny question, on what's going to happen to the wastewater? It's polluted, how are you going to ship it, what are you going to do with it, exactly what are you going to intend to do?
As was said earlier, the intention is to recycle the water. You're right, there will be waste products as a result of that. There's reference to disposal of specific waste products to a licensed site in Cliff. They will be disposed of by taking them out in a boat, so they wouldn't go by road. If there is liquid waste that cannot be disposed of to Cliff, then it will be taken out by tanker and it would have to go to a registered site. And we would have to do that through Environment Agency authorisation. There's always going to be somewhere polluted if you try and recycle. Yeah. So but if you deal with it through the Environment Agency, I'm sure that you can trust them to do the job.
Hear me? Part of the question I was going to ask you about locating the Ramsgate was an answer, and it's financial. I just wondered, is the council giving you any sort of cheaper harbour deals, or perhaps you're going to get 3 years free? Get to walk these boats. Speaking to them, get to water these vessels. They're going to bring the materials in, take it away to Ireland. You'd be better over in Ireland, surely, for what it's going to cost you to ship the bell. There must be some very financial gain to want to come here. You talk about dredging. Are you going to do the dredging, or have the charge payers of Thanet District Council pay for the dredging? You get your boats in, take your stuff away. Just as other things, I'd just like to go on, if you don't mind. Yeah, the terminal was an ill-conceived and badly designed venture right from the start 40 years ago. It's a silting mud hole, the shape of which has altered the tidal flow, cut the force of the southerly gales that used to shift the sand back. To scour the wind to westward movement the sand back to the east. The result is a lovely rural harbour is slowly strangled with sand. Decisive action needs to be taken to remedy this, or it would be like Broadstairs. I think turning this into a marina would not need the depth of water required for ferries or deeper draft vessels, but would still require a lot of work to keep the berths clear. Also, pontoon berths would have to be moved frequently to enable the dredging to take place. This venture is not the sort of thing that our town needs. We need a good marina up there, hotels, motels, and the rest of the charnary shops and things like that, small flats for people. Certainly be more jobs than what you're going to offer. I was a fisherman, lifeboatman 35 years, dredger master 22 years at the harbour, so I'm confident I know what I'm talking about. I just hope you act on what I advise you to do.
Can I just answer regarding the vessels coming in? They're 6 metre draft, okay, and they can sit on the bottom of the area once the tide goes out, because they're constructed in that way. What we offered, what we have said is that we would be willing to look at dredging and taking that material instead of it being shipped out to the various sites. Yeah, taking it and having to pay for it.
Using it.
And using it, and using it to make the blocks. Well, the idea... No, if... No. Right, can I please speak? Not really. I can't use crap, but I can use aggregates that we dredge up. I can use...
Don't steal us.
No, okay. If you don't want us...
Please, Candice, will you stop it? Please. Oh, yes, I've got that. Now, will you calm down? There's a guy with a question down here. Will you ask the question?
Can I just finish on this question? The sand, okay? If the town council or whoever the authorities say, we want that sand taken round to your beach, then so be it. It can go round there. We don't need the sand. We were taking it as an...
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my name's Craig McKinley. Now, I came here with a bit of an open mind. I always like to try and do that and listen to what's happening. And even when I looked through the door, I had a fairly open mind, but I think within about 3 minutes that mind closed quite rapidly. I don't think I've ever heard of such a harebrained scheme in the middle of such a fantastic area. Now, I was very interested to hear from you. Doug Brown said that there, I think his words were, there's nothing definitive regarding heads of terms. Now, gentlemen, I'll give you some advice. Don't bother spending your money. I think this is dead in the water before we even start. But the real reason for getting my drink this evening, as well as living probably within 600 yards of that area, I also still represent as a councillor for part of the Medway Towns, and that's part of Chatham Docks. Now, a very similar organisation to yourselves took area up in Chatham Docks and did wood reprocessing for the purpose of renewable energy that went over to Sweden. Now, what happens in the summer? Not quite so cold, so the Swedish power station wasn't so active. So this pile of wood chip sat on the port side and rotted away under fermentation, and about half of the Medway Towns was covered in stink. And there is now an ongoing legal case by many people living in Medway as to what damage that might have done them. Additionally, there is a very similar block processing system on Chatham Docks, and we have a state of close to Vesuvius when it winds, when the wind blows, across a good portion of St Mary's Island. Now, I cannot see that you can take any measures that would mitigate that, and I'm afraid, gentlemen, this is a waste of time. Please go elsewhere.
I used to work for Peel Ports, who owned Chatham, so I'm fully aware of that waste wood operation, and it wasn't done properly. And in fact, the people were sacked to operate, and it was closed down. So that's that point. Also, we would not have the pile of wood that they had because they couldn't get rid of it. And that's why it fermented, and I think it even caught fire at one stage. So that's the block operation. I can give you the same assurances in the sense that I've said our wood is coming in, it's going to be chipped, and then it's going to be shipped to Ireland. If we get anywhere with this proposal, okay? On the question of block making, I will investigate what's happening up at Chatham. I've got a few contacts, because I'm not so sure that might be the same type of operation. Okay?
What have they got in their blocks trying them then?
David Foley, Chamber of Commerce, with the largest business support organisation in this area. We get a lot of visitors from overseas. We recently had 2 ambassadors visit us. One of them, after closing his eyes, he looked at Ramsey and he said, "This could be Monaco, you know. This could be Monaco." And I asked the question, would the royal family of Monaco have gravel pits in their royal arbour? Could I also say, in fairness to the chairman, this week we've had some very serious threats to free speech. We've all seen it on the news. 4 million people turned out in France. A lot of people turned out in this country. We're allowed meetings like this. People are allowed to shout out, but I ask you to respect free speech, because it's only through free speech that we're able to discuss things. I deal with businesses, so pounds, shillings and pence, that shows how old I am, doesn't it? Pounds and p I deal with. Aggregates, maybe you get about, I don't know, £1 a tonne for landing them. What if we had a ferry service here? What if, for instance, in the 3rd year of its operation, you had 1 million passengers coming here? What if 10% of them, just 10% of them, spent £20? £2 million. Is this compatible with a ferry operation? Doesn't exactly encourage them. Good thing about ferries is you don't need so much dredging, because the ferry scours the harbour and it brings the mud out. Now, let's compare this. I'm sorry, I talked to the leading ferry consultant last night. If you have people on ferries, say the average person weighs, I don't know, 70, 75 kilos, might be a little more tonight, looking around this room, then it works out per tonne at £30 a tonne. If these aggregates are £1 a tonne, I know which is a better deal. I kind of make the final point. Ramsgate is glorious. People come here, we have excellent links, we have great roads, we're about to have a faster railway, right? We're quite close to Europe, and for the moment we remain in Europe. So we want to encourage people to come here, because Ramsgate can be one of the best places to visit in the UK. Tourists are wonderful. They come here, they spend the money, they create jobs, they don't call on public services, they don't